Hi, this is Kelsey Blaho, and this is for the course EDL 959, Module 5. So I'm just going to go through each source and kind of share a few things that I learned from each one. So the first source, assessment and evaluation in education. So assessments are a related series of measures used to determine a complex attribute of an individual or group of people. So some things could be formative, summative, that kind of thing. And then evaluation is determining the value of something. So thinking about judging it by comparing it to some kind of standard. So things like grades. It could be comparing it with other students or with a set of standards. So it's kind of a big difference between assessment and evaluation. Source 2, again, diving a little bit deeper in assessment and evaluation. So both of them, you have to collect data, and both of them have a performer and a person who collects information about that performance. And then they also look at similarities and differences from those findings. And then assessment is mostly focused on the locus of control rests with the performer. And then evaluation, it rests with the observer. So again, with the evaluation, there might be a grade or score or comment on it. So just a little bit deeper on that one. And then here's a chart that I thought did a really good job of kind of explaining and just showcasing which part goes with which type of assessment or evaluation. And then this next article talked about why assessments are important, whether or not goals are being met. So I know at our school we use it for, just kind of looking at how we've improved over the years. And so making sure we're doing a good job as a teacher. They could affect grades, placement, instructional needs, curriculum, sometimes even funding is a big one. So students also need to be able to think critically within them. They work well when they provide feedback, help educators set standards, and then evaluate progress, and then also motivate performance for not only the teacher, but also for the student. And then student assessment in teaching, so thinking about, again, measuring the effectiveness of that teacher, rationale for different choices in the classroom, not only themselves, but with students. And then some of those types of assessments are summative, formative, self-assessment, which I thought was interesting. I've done that a few times with students, having them self-assess, peer assess, so having them grade each other, essays, exams, those kind of things. Next one, this focuses a lot on cultural responsiveness in regards to assessments. And I found this image and I thought it was really relevant to kind of what this topic was. And then we cannot create curriculum that meets their needs, much less their cultural needs, if we don't first get to know them as human beings. I think that is at the center of all of this. And then I just picked a couple quotes from this article because I thought they were really important. Just really focusing on getting to know our students and then being able to give them space to share themselves with our class in kind of a judgment-free zone. And then making sure that our assessment practices are respecting them as humans and just making sure that we get to know them. And then number 6, thinking about keeping students in the center. So there's kind of a couple definitions up at the top. And then I really like the step-by-step. So put relationships at the center and provide the space for students to share their stories. So finding time and space is really important. And then use those personal experiences to drive that community engagement. And really kind of foster that sense of belonging. And again, making sure that students are the center and the focus. Number 7, the challenges of measuring well-being in schools. So I think this kind of ties in with the cultural responsiveness, but also the well-being. And so I just highlighted a few things that I thought were relevant to this. So teacher well-being, I think, is really crucial to this. And they kind of go hand in hand with student well-being. So it's kind of this ebb and flow of student well-being, teacher well-being, and then the whole school well-being. So there's a lot of connection there. Yeah, and also linking it to equity too. So thinking about others' needs, putting other people first, responsibility, and how they serve individuals in those groups that might need a little bit more help. So just some important stuff from this article too. And then lastly, for source 8, so ineffective assessments, what causes that? How do we get our students to think more critically? I like this, and so I bolded it. Every child needs to be able to articulate what he or she knows, not just repeat it. I feel like I always kind of keep that in the back of my mind when I teach. I'm just trying to find ways that students are able to kind of share their knowledge in different ways, rather than just be able to like regurgitate it. I think this is a big thing for many teachers, the way they want to teach and the way they are forced to teach very greatly, because there are such standards and certain things that have to be met for teachers. So trying to push back on that a little bit. Yeah, it's really crucial and one of the big things I took away from this. So evaluating, thinking about kind of what our school does and doesn't do well. I think our school overall does a really good job of having lots of resources for lots of different students. In terms of kind of what needs students have, we try and have something or someone helping them. I think some classes and content areas do a really good job of this, and others not so much, but I know that all of us are trying to kind of move in that direction and help students with equity, digital literacy, and provide resources. So overall, I think we're doing a good job, but always room for improvement. Propose, so some ideas, I think, just more time for one-on-one help, tutoring, getting the extra help that maybe is kind of lost in the whole classroom setting, but trying to find enough time there. And then giving time and space for teachers to develop and change curriculum. I know that's always a need, but trying to find ways to do that. And then maybe it's just one person per department that goes to the trainings and then are able to teach other people in the department. I don't know, just trying to find a way to give more time and resources for that. So just looked at our district a little bit more. We kind of use a little bit of everything for our testing. What is required? So I said it kind of depends on content area for what assessment's being used. I know a lot of growth scores are being used to kind of evaluate teachers. There's some statewide assessments, things like that. So honestly, it kind of depends. What gaps in our plan? I think the critical thinking piece is always a little bit of a gap. I feel like a lot of teachers want to teach outside, but they're kind of confined to kind of some limitations within that. How do assessments plan, determine the quality of your curriculum resources? So I think in our FCS department is determined by what other teachers are doing at the district level. So thinking about who's teaching what across the district, because it is so broad. We have a lot of different classes in terms of evaluations and growth scores and things like that. I think our curriculum is pretty flexible though, so we can kind of make changes kind of school by school and department by department within that. So yeah, fairly flexible there. And then how often do they get evaluated? I think more recently we've been evaluating the assessments and kind of what we're doing to assess our students. And we've tried to get rid of some district assessments because we feel like they don't fit what we're teaching, how we're teaching it, that kind of thing. And then going more towards the SLO for teacher growth, and how us teachers are getting assessed. So we are kind of changing some things there. And then how culturally responsive are the assessments? I think to some extent they are okay. And then they could be more. We're just kind of scratching the surface with more culturally responsive teaching for us teachers. So trying to get more training for us. We do have an EDI specialist who's kind of helping us with this. So here's my standard correlation. So I feel like this whole assignment really just challenged the way I think about culturally responsive, and then like that equity component, and then just really trying to dig into not only our school side of things, but also how I teach, and then how in the future I could help other teachers. Again, really relevant because I think it's really pushing me to think outside the box and challenge just how I was taught to be a teacher, and then how I want to push other teachers and help them to really, do the best they can and give autonomy and choice, and just to meet students where they're at. So just a little bit about the reflection. Again, trying to help other teachers, help students, and then maybe make some changes at the district or even state level with assessments. And then here's my references. Thank you.